Hey, true believers. Chris Mack coming at you with The Death of Doctor Strange, number 2. Now, I thought, again, just with modern comic books, I thought that after issue 1, everyone's like, oh, The Death of Doctor Strange, got to get that issue, blah, 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 and then the rest of the series would just kind of start to trail off, which I'm pretty sure it has. Let me know if I'm wrong. So, if I'm wrong, I'm going to be happy about that because comic sales nowadays, I've seen some numbers and just not as good as they used to be. But anyway, that aside, what I'm trying to get at here is this book continues to be entertaining for issue 2. And I had to make sure to get this cover because as I was talking about my last review, I was not a fan of that cover, that variant one. So this one, even though this isn't what happens, it's just a very awesome piece nonetheless. So let's go ahead and dive in and talk about who's working on this book. This is Jed MacKay doing the writing, which I have not heard of this guy. So if you know anything else that he's working on, let me know because I feel to a degree that he has a grasp of the Marvel universe and is doing a really good job of twisting Silver Age stuff with modern stuff, and we'll get into that in a minute. This is Lee Garbett doing the art, Antonio Fabella doing the colors, VC's Corey Petit doing the lettering, everyone else working on the book, and Doctor Strange was created by Steve Lee, Stan Lee, and Steve Ditko. Now, this opens up talking about all these different characters, which I have not read a lot of older Doctor Strange books, so when I come across them, I read them, but I don't come across them that often, so I'm just like, crap. But this guy's called Agamon, I believe, and talk about how he brought his planet, or his universe, from the purple dimension to Earth. Same with Dagoth. This dude named Tiboro, and then Umar. So all these people are coming to Earth, and we're thinking that there's an invasion because, as we found out last issue, in the event of the death of the Sorcerer Supreme, Earth's magic defenses fall. So it allows all these mystical things to come into the world. Now, if you have not read or have not seen the review that I did for issue 1, pause this one and come back. Now, what we find out is I cannot remember the guy's name that Steven said that he was inspired by, but he made a contingency plan like this guy, where in the event of his death, he had kind of like a sense of his, like a week of his life or something like that, preserved. So at the moment of his death, the Silver Age Stephen Strange steps out and says, "Zounds." So he's like, "I fear there are some of you I do not know. I apologize for the strangeness of my entrance." And so everyone's a little hesitant, but everyone's like, it looks like him, his aura, it smells like him, it's the Doc. And so he comes to look at his future counterpart, and he goes, and he's just sort of like, what does he say? Hold on. "I presume that I've been murdered." "Ah, Wong, excellent." And he kind of get a backstory on some of his villains, which these guys wanted to murder him. And that's the only reason they're here, is because they want to find out who murdered him and took that privilege from them. And it's weird because, as we saw at the beginning of issue 1, how the new Stephen Strange kind of figured out how he's sort of gotten his life back on track, how he's able to juggle being the Sorcerer Supreme, balancing being an Avenger, training the Strange Academy, and then actually, having his hands fixed, going back and being an actual surgeon, which was his first love. But now we kind of get back into the old days of the more callous, semi-egotistical Stephen Strange. So instead of, freaking out and whatnot, he just goes, "The purple dimension. I fear that was after my time. It all comes down to time, Carl. 7 days, to be precise." And then he has no idea who Bats is, so I'm sure that hurts him. And then his Avenger card's going off, and he goes, "Madam, please shut off your talking card." She goes, "It's yours." And this is where he's like, "Good Lord, Captain America." He's like, Stephen Strange you know's been killed, Captain." And then I like how Steve says, "In regards to invasions, we must summon the Sorcerer Supreme. That is the responsibility of their station." So Stephen turns to mostly all these strangers, and he goes, "Who is the Sorcerer Supreme of this time period?" And everyone just has this look of dread, like, oh my God. And his facial expression just kind of echoes. He goes, by the hoary hosts of Hogarth, there's no Sorcerer Supreme. We are undone. Now, the reason that I said that this book continues to be enjoyable and tie in Silver Age and modern stuff is so we get the Silver Age Stephen Strange acting like he would back in the day, having older and new characters together. We get a moment with his wife, which Stephen has no idea that this was his wife. And here we get the first appearance of the three mothers. And this splash page is absolutely flipping gorgeous. It's both, the artwork's gorgeous but terrifying. I mean, look at how disgusting this lady's just made of all these vomited, acidic, nasty worms. And it adds that sense of dread. And that's what comic books do. You get those moments of suspense. You get those moments of being elated or joking. And a good joke, not like LOL so random. This is how you comic. You get some information in, you get the stakes, and then boom, we get into it. The Avengers show up, and then things kind of go south quickly because Thor goes to take on the War Mother, and then we have more of the mystical mother who's going up against Carol and Iron Man, and then we get the other one who's just, it's so gross. And then look at this, another freaking splash page. Boom. And look at how freaking gorgeous that is. In a modern comic book, it's not people standing around talking about coffee or, oh my God, look at all these cats, they're so cute and I want to pinch them and squeeze them and oh my God, LOL, so random, MySpace and ponies. No, this is action and good storytelling. What comics should be. And then, at the end of it all, the world's mightiest Avengers, and these mothers are just talking about how we want to get a taste of this dimension's defenders. And so some things happen. I'm not going to give everything away. But here I like at the end, because like I said, this is the first appearance of these characters. And I appreciate that the writer takes a moment to introduce them to us here. So if you want to read more about it, go ahead and feel free to pause this page and read about these three mothers. And with that said, that is kind of the quick overview of the Death of Doctor Strange issue 2. I am thoroughly enjoying this. And it's done in a different way now. What I mean by that is let's go back in time to the 90s when they killed Superman. They did the death of Superman, then they did Funeral for a Friend, and then they did the Reign of Superman, and then brought Superman back. And in that regard, it was interesting the way that they took their time, kind of gave us some new characters, gave us the modern Superboy, saw how the friends mourned in Funeral for a Friend, and how all of them had to pick up the vacuum that Clark's death had left. And it made for some good storytelling. Yes, it was an event, but it had emotion. Dan Jurgens and all the creative team at that time went out of their way to make sure that even though it was a money grab on DC's part, they wanted to make sure that the fans could relate to it and enjoyed it. And I did. I loved it. I thought it was a good way to bring him back in it and, spawn some other interesting arcs as well. Now, I say all that to say this. I'm liking that Jed McKay's actually looked like he's enjoying himself in doing this. This doesn't feel like, we're going to rush here, we're going to run here, and da-da-da-da. Now, if you go back here, they do have a checklist for the Doctor Strange event. So they have a checklist here. I'm not going to do any of the spin-offs. Why do I bring this up? It's here. The main, I guess you call it event book or whatever you want to call it, we get introduced to these new players. We don't have to go read Doctor Strange Death Avengers or Spider-Man #1 or White Fox #1. Everything so far, like the big stuff, is happening in the main book. Everything else is just kind of like if you want some more story on what's going on in the rest of Manhattan, etc., so forth. This is how it's done. This is like the spin of how I complained about Dark Knight's Death Metal, where everything else happened in other tie-in books and then just left the main book feeling flat. Here, we're getting all the information, the artwork's staying on point, the story is actually intriguing and interesting. We get some new villains instead of rehashing old stuff like that. And the writer knows his shit. He knows old Strange and new Strange, and it's all being accumulated here, and I'm thoroughly enjoying myself in terms of a good story. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please, first and foremost, support your local comic shop and get this series on your pull list. If you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate it if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. And if you really wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little strange bell next to subscribe, all of that helps the club channel. You guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with you on hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.